Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Mill Spouse Transition live stream with Jacqueline Widdis today. I'm so excited to be having this conversation. Let's get started off with what is our topic for the day. Want to hear a phrase that makes every military spouse shudder when they are looking for a job? Why do you have such big career gaps in your work history? Let's all heave a big sigh of frustration together. Today's game changing conversation is for every military spouse who has missing years, months, decades on their resume. We're going to address effective networking and how active duty and transitioning military spouses can really show their commitment, dedication, and resourcefulness as something that every employer is going to want. Now, we're talking about effective ways to address your career gap on today's Mill Spouse Transition live stream. Thank you so much for joining us. These live streams are sponsored by SpouseLink. I'm Anna Larson, a military spouse transition expert and your host for today. I am excited to be welcoming a guest with me. Her name is Jacqueline, and I'm going to pull up her bio. We're going to tell you a little bit more about her so that I can bring her up here and we can start having those conversations. So let's see, add this up here, and I am going to add myself to it. Oh, sorry, guys. Sometimes it's technology. Sometimes it's technology. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about Jacqueline. Jacqueline works for Microsoft after an almost 20-year full-time employment gap. She's going to tell you that story, kind of what that looked like for her. So I'm not going to dwell on that, but she spent years between employment with a litany of activities, such supporting her Navy submariner spouse with his retirement, an at-home parent, volunteer, community builder, and entrepreneur, all trying to add a little income to the family budget. After taking 3 years to return to the workforce, she is passionate about helping others shorten their time to success in working after time away or pivoting into a new role. When not working, she is pursuing her master's degree in information management, training for a Run Disney race, helping her 2 teenage daughters launch into life after graduation. That is a job in and of itself, just throwing that out there. Celebrating her son's success in becoming an Amazon software engineer. Let's just give him a little cheer right now. And trying her hand at amateur photography, enjoying a local musical, or cheering on the Seattle Seahawks. Ooh, as somebody from Dallas, I don't know, all those Cowboy fans might be like, boo, I don't know. Anyway, I'm excited to have Jacqueline here and joining us today. I'm going to take this bio down and bring her up. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi. Thank you for having me today. I'm so excited.
I am excited to have you on today. You have such an amazing story. And I know it's one that I'm going to say every kind of as a general, right? Like, I don't want to be super definitive, but almost every military spouse that wants to work and that is looking for employment faces this challenge of a career gap. Yes. Can you tell us in your own words, kind of your career gap story?
Sure, certainly. So graduating college, I actually was in tech. It was many moons ago. So, and I had a professor kind of tell me, if you're away from tech for more than 18 months, you're obsolete. So when I married into the military, I was able to get my first job. And then we moved into a more rural area that I ended up as my church's administrative assistant, because that's all I could find, which was a huge step down from Fortune 500 companies that I had been working for. So add life to that, adding children. And even that role was part-time. So that was kind of that first, oh, now I'm a part-time person. And oh, look, 18 months has passed. So now I'm not relevant in tech anymore. But I always wanted to do something. I think career gaps are a misnomer because people think you were like sitting around watching Netflix and eating bonbons. I was never more busy in life than during my career gap. So I volunteered, homeschooled my kids for a while to try and give them stability in a military life. And I started some entrepreneurial pursuits. I like to joke that I became a cake decorator, and then that led to me becoming a personal trainer. So because I needed to run off the cakes that I made and sampling all the frosting. Eventually, my husband started challenging me when he was getting close to retirement. Well, what do you want to do? This is your chance to pursue your career. And at first, I wanted to work for Disney. So I just started looking at their job postings and realizing In tech, wait a minute, the speed of delivery has changed, but the skills around that have not. The words were still there around life cycles of software and various things. So I thought, let me just get a skills refresh. So I went back to school to get certifications. And then my husband, true to military spouse life, even though we were retired, he got recruited to move to Seattle by Amazon. So I was one of those, well, I was making progress in the story, and now I get to start over yet again. And that's when he found out about an organization called Operation Code. Please look them up if you don't know about them. And they did in-person networking events, and I started attending those. And because of the certifications and the training I had been doing, I always advocate, be prepared and be preparing yourself, because someday preparation will meet opportunity, and that's your golden moment to shine. And that's what happened, where I found out that Microsoft was doing a pilot program for military spouses. I was into that cohort and I interviewed out of that. And it feels like a Cinderella story. And I'm many times I'm just, whoa, what happened here? I was at a career fair once and I saw a huge line, and I asked, is this a line to get in? They said, no, this is the line to talk to Microsoft. And I was like, that'll never happen. So I walked right around that line and went in to talk to other companies. So I still have pinch me moments. And that's kind of how it went. Again, it surprised me too, but it was about making sure I was prepared for that time when those two things met, and never looked back since then. You're muted, Anna.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me that. Yeah, I love this story because I feel like that you hit on so many different points. You talk about being prepared, the kind of like the disbelief, like that's never going to happen for me, or and the fact that you were so close to transition, and that was kind of what spurred you to that, which is kind of my focus in my arena. Now, we also know, however, that it doesn't matter if you're near transition or if you're 4 years into your active duty military life, right? You're still potentially experiencing career gaps or underemployment. So let's jump into this first question, which is, what is the amount of time that would constitute a career gap?
Yeah, I mentor a lot of people, and it's kind of individually based. Some people come in and they're like, oh my gosh, I have a 3-month career gap. And I almost chuckle at that, because I was looking at this insurmountable, almost 20-year gap, and I was just like, you're going to be okay at 3 months. But then as military spouses, that gap is often much longer. So it's going to be what you define as a career gap. But when it comes to employers, right now even since the pandemic, it's kind of an ideal time to have a career gap, because so many took time off for a variety of reasons. Right now, there are a lot of layoffs happening, which is unfortunate, but people are seeing that and not looking at it as much, or not questioning it. They might fill in the story on their own, but that's on them, not on you. So and then some hiring managers are going to look at it more negatively than others. So I'm more here to tell you to have confidence in your story, and that career gap, it doesn't have to be the thing that defines you. And I'm sure we'll get into more of that, or you can make me circle it back around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I do want to jump into that more, actually. I want to talk about using volunteer work. I don't know. Have I lost you, Jacqueline? I'm not really quite sure. Seem to be frozen. I'm just going to pop her back up on stage in just a minute. Let's see what happens. I think I've lost Jacqueline for just a minute. Well, while Jacqueline is jumping back on, oh, there she is. Yay, you're back.
I'm back. Yep. I could actually hear you. I just couldn't. I didn't think you could hear me back. So.
Oh, yeah. Just for full disclosure, Jacqueline's actually attending a last-minute conference that she was not expecting to be at. So she's actually out partying in Las Vegas right now. But all right.
It's going to bed late or early is partying.
Well, we do what we can with the time that we have, right? And we partied in the way we can. It might be at breakfast. Okay, so
the irony is that I have like finals next week for my master's class. So at night I'm actually doing homework instead of like exploring the area.
Right. Okay, so Jacqueline, I do want to talk about moving from that career gap and kind of that perspective and that confidence you were talking about. And I want to ask this question. So we talk a lot about like, oh, just tell them that you volunteered here or there, or tell them you're a military spouse and this was the reason you had to move around a lot. What is it that is going to really make a difference when potential employers are looking at a career gap and your resume?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to some of it is going to be on the hiring manager and you can't change them. But what is something that you can do is really fall in love with your career gap. And I know that sounds a little foreign, right? Because when I was interviewing, I remember distinctly I was interviewing and they had my resume in front of me and I saw them reading it. And the only thing going through my mind is, please don't ask me about the career gap. Please don't ask me about the career gap. I'm like, please don't ask me about it. And all I saw was the career gap. I have no idea if that's what they were looking for, but that's all I thought they were looking at. The change happened in me when I really took a step back and said, wait a minute, so relevant. I did so much in this time. And it actually took me being in a different interview when they were asking me about those things, some questions about what I did as a personal trainer. And I really realized, wait a minute, I was a product manager the whole time. My product was just people. The process is the same, regardless of what I did. So when you're looking at volunteer, it's, first of all, you need to speak to it with confidence. You need to write on your resume about it with confidence because you did something, you impacted some number of people, you did a thing. Stop discrediting it. So even going shopping, if you think about it, is asset management, right? I mean, you need to know how much you need to buy. And military spouses often have tight budgets. So that's budget planning, all those things. So if you have to, write it down, write down every little thing you do in the day, even if it's consoling toddlers, put it on paper and start inventorying how much you do. It's impressive what military spouses handle. And then the other side is my husband was a submariner, but he got individually augmented to Iraq at some point. And I started realizing, look, there is nothing in tech that is the same as my husband being in harm's way. So we are amazing at handling crises that are actually crises, and other things are just a thing. So when you're looking at your volunteer hours, make sure you put numbers to what you did. If you were a parent director for the kids play and there were 50 kids running around, you put that 50 on there. The hiring managers need to know the scope of what you did far more than a lot of people know what working at a food bank is, but how many people did you serve? How often did you go? Put numbers on there so they can get a bit of your story. And then also remember, your resume is designed to get you the interview. You don't have to detail every little thing. Numbers are far more important than the individual tasks. I'll probably end up, before this conversation is over, kind of countering that a little bit when it comes to power words on resumes, but think about the numbers first. Percentages, anything justifiable, put it on there. For me, I should have been documenting how many personal training clients I had, how often did I see them, what changes did they make. I could have been like, oh, they lost an average of 20% of weight, things like that. But it shows impact, and it shows that you can deliver more than do.
Yeah, so much of what you're saying sounds like when you are looking at your resume and when you're looking at the daily tasks and that career gap and the things that you use to fill that, whether it's be a stay-at-home parent or whether it's, being underemployed at a job that maybe you're not particularly proud of, if I'm just going to put it that way, right?
Absolutely.
Or that you wasn't certainly along the lines of the career path you were hoping to have, or whether it was volunteer work. But it sounds like so much of it is almost like the words you use and the way you actually the words that you use to describe the tasks that you're accomplishing. So you use asset management and, budgeting asset management. You talked about, the product processing that you were doing as a strengths coach or as a trainer. So in that way, is that really what it comes down to, is like teaching people the right words to use to describe and then adding those metrics to show the impact? with those words?
Yes. So I was building a resume prior to things like ChatGPT and whatnot. So I just Googled power words for resumes, and you will get a list of tons of power words. Now, what I had to do was look at each of those power words and find out where did again, inventory what you've done. I can't tell you how confidence boosting that is. And I wrote down everything. I mean, everything I could possibly think of. And then I started ascribing power words to each of those things. Managed, leveraged, because what you'll start realizing is what you've done in a professional sense. So when it comes to any of those jobs, look, if you were a cashier at a grocery store, you still showed up on time, or I hope you did. You still were customer service. You handled people that thought the milk spilling was a crisis. They were crying over spilt milk, and you had to bring it down, de-escalate it. Those are all professional skills. So find those, put power words to it. Be honest, though. I can't stress, recruiters see hundreds of resumes a day, and if you're trying to I process 10,000 people a day at a grocery store, they're probably going to be like, what does that mean, processed? And it'll just be a little bit of a red flag. So be honest about what you did. You have an opportunity to put an about section, and I will go into, resume is one thing, and it's designed to get you a job. When it comes to other things, there is a whole networking side that I could elaborate on. I built a course at one point on it. I just took it down because nobody was buying it, but it is a specialty topic, and I love the LinkedIn and networking stuff, because that is also going to be really key. But for your resume, get the power words on there. Figure out how what you did translates. Take the top things, the top skills, and a little tidbit that I learned last week from a recruiter was the top bullet on job postings is usually the one that's top of mind for the hiring manager, their top 3 bullets. So speak to those and hone in on those. If that's what they're looking for, get your power words to match that.
Okay, that's a great answer. So now, that just spurs another question that comes to my mind, right? So here you are with this career gap. We're just going to use cashier at a grocery store as an example, because that's where you were at, right? So you've got this space filled with cashier at a grocery store, and the hiring manager is looking at 2 resumes, one with no career gap, one that has like a career gap, and then they're working as a cashier, and then a bit more time where they don't have a job at all because they're transitioning and moving or something along those lines, and now they're here. What else can you do to make sure that your resume is really truly considered when there's so many other people that don't have those same issues also applying for those same jobs?
Sure, and that is a tough one, because the hiring manager wants to go with the best candidate for that. So I'm going to go to a different approach on that. Is if you cannot, first of all, don't use the quick apply button. I'm told that makes a really messy thing that gets sent to the recruiters, and they don't like it. So make sure you're giving the cleanest type of resume possible. And if you know somebody in that company, like, networking is so key. I can't even stress it enough. You want to get onto the short list that the hiring manager is looking at, and having somebody that can refer you in, that will help. Having someone that can speak to your skills, that would help. Get recommendations on your LinkedIn profile, that will help. And then one of the beauties of being a military spouse is you have a worldwide network, and you need to start connecting with them and staying connected with them, because those are, like, for me, I have the success story. So now anybody that I knew as a military spouse, they still reach out every once in a while. I'm like, hey, can you put in a referral for me? And I know them because we were, base mayors at the same time, and I know how hard they worked, and I know what they did, and I know the workload that they did. So now I can speak to that, because hiring managers, as far as I know, really want great people too, and it's still going to be up to them. There are going to be biases, and we can't. I think I've said it. This will be the 3rd time. We can't change the hiring manager, but we can just use it as fuel for continuing forward. And I know this journey is so discouraging. I don't want to minimize that. And you will get rejection after rejection after rejection. It took me 3 years, and I don't want to lose that point. That's why I do what I do. Is I don't think it needed to take 3 years at all. I just went in so many wrong less opportune directions. I can't call them wrong because they were all learning. But yeah, I hope that answers the question. I know it's tricky.
No, I think it does. I think what you're just saying is well, first of all, you're bringing the best of what you've learned now and helping support other military spouses and other people through that journey. But I do think I love the idea of the fact that we have a global network, that our community is super strong. And if there's one thing that we are good at, it is supporting each other, like to reach. And so, I want to jump into your LinkedIn networking and that conversation, because I think that networking piece is going to be a really huge key. And I'd love to speak to it from two different sides, like both as the job searcher, but also as someone who, if somebody reaches out to you, like what you can truly do to help support that job search, even if you're not a recruiter or you're like, I don't know anyone looking for a position, like what else can we do to support those military spouses that are looking for work that would be beneficial to them? And I love that you've already named a couple, like leaving them, a review, saying what you've experienced with them, and kind of like highlighting those skill sets that you want. So, all right. So now I feel like I'm talking your discussion right now.
This is, you may have to wave me off to stop talking at some point, but there will be opportunities that I'll share where you can hear more if you're a military spouse and want to connect later. So LinkedIn is about, it's social media is noisy. We all know that, right? There's scrolling, there's people, there's busy, and it's just bam, bam, bam in your face. So you want to ask every time when you're on there, how can I stand out? And how do I break through the noise and get noticed? So one of the first things I do is and I've got this, I follow a ton of recruiters. I connect with recruiters all the time. I'm not looking for another job, but I do, they give insight, they give free advice nonstop about job search, how they looked at LinkedIn profiles, how they, why does it feel like you're getting auto rejected constantly, and things, all of those pieces. Follow them and learn from them. That's where so much of this, what I'm giving you, is not because, I sat and talked to a hiring manager for a while. It's because I followed recruiters. So you want to put the recruiters that you are, or look for recruiters in the space that you want to go, and then look for hiring managers that hire in that space. There's an advanced LinkedIn search. I don't have time to get into that today, but I promise there are ways you can join me later to learn those things. And then find people who are doing what you want to do. And all of that together starts building a network of what you're looking for. I can't stress enough to not, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just want to jump in really quickly. Do you try and connect with these people? Are you sending connection requests and adding a note and all that kind of, best practices, all that? Are you connecting with them?
Yes, I used to. Yes, I do as much as possible. And then there's a way, if some of them only have the follow option on because they've maxed out their LinkedIn connections, which is 30,000 people. So that's not about you. And then also know that people accepting or not accepting requests is also not about you. It's about LinkedIn being noisy also. So don't take that personally if they don't request it, but follow them. And then the key is, even if you're not connected to a recruiter, comment and ask questions and like their post. I have people that I have never met, but I know their name because every single time I say something, they are the first ones to comment or like my post. And somewhere along the line, I'm like, wow, we're friends now. I barely had a conversation with them, but they're in there asking me questions, participating, and I can't forget their name. So don't let people forget you exist. And then I also have built, and it's on my featured section on my LinkedIn profile, so you can download it, just do a save as, but a 31-day guide to social media post. You can reuse this every 31 days. I tried to structure it so that you could go in and just repeat day after day after day with a lot of tips on how to post on LinkedIn, because this is also so important. And reaching out, that's a whole different topic. I can get to that again, but putting yourself out there speaks volumes. I have gotten really involved in people's stories who are trying to close career gaps or pivot because they're out there documenting their struggles, they're documenting their journeys, they're talking about what they're learning constantly, they're sharing them and putting themselves out there. And you can always, by the way, tag me in a post, any of those things. I don't mind. That'll actually get me to go comment on your post, even in that busy social media world. but that's going to make you start to stand out. And the beauty of LinkedIn is it's not anonymous. So when you comment on my stuff, my network sees your stuff. If you ask thoughtful questions, then other people will start reaching out to you. And that's really what you want, people to start reaching out to you and not always chasing. And I can't tell you the number of times I've gone into and asked a thoughtful, curious question on a recruiter's page, and then 5 people reach out to me and be like, wow, I really loved what you, or an opinion that, oh, I didn't know about this. That's one of the things I said, don't use the quick apply, because someone mentioned it. I'm like, well, what does that look like? I mean, what do you mean it's noisy? Why, what does that look like from a recruiter's perspective? And then she took a screen capture of what hers looked like, and it was messy. And then I think I had 10 people reach out to connect just because of that one question. So now my network is growing organically. I'm not trying as much, but there is pieces of the algorithm show up every day. Even if it's, you don't have to post every day, just like and particularly comments. Comments go so much further, but I know a lot of military spouses, me included, was like, LinkedIn's professional. Everybody's better at all this than me. What am I even doing here? I'm a stay-at-home mom. Get over that. Put yourself out there. It's only scary the first few times. It's like anything, right? I'm sure when we learned to walk, it was a little bit scary too, but we just kept at it, right? So in anything, the first time I did a mentorship call, I was terrified. I'm like, what am I even talking about? But everybody has their story to tell. So if I don't know your answer, I still have a story and I can point you to the right person. And we talked about a little bit, what about that global network that you have? I postured myself when I started LinkedIn as I'm going to connect people to people. So as I see, and I still try to do it, it's gotten a lot more busy because the following is growing and it's a little harder to manage. What a great problem to have though, right? So I would look for any recruiters posting jobs. And if I didn't qualify, if I wasn't interested, as I'm building my network and I'm learning who is looking for what, I used to keep a spreadsheet when it was a smaller, more manageable thing. Like so-and-so is looking for UX design. And this person, if I saw those jobs post, I tagged that person every time. And now what? They're going to land in their role and they're going to be, oh my, Jacqueline pointed me to this. I can always go to that person and say, hey, I just got laid off. Can you help? Give me a referral into that company. They're going to remember you. You helped them get where they are. So don't treat it. People are people, and LinkedIn is full of people, and all of us have hopes and fears and dreams and successes and failures. Just make that connection. People are hungry for connection. And Anna, you said it. Military spouses are amazing at building community. Get in there, pretend like you just PCS'd somewhere, and build your community.
Yes.
It's no different than showing up at the playground saying, okay, I'm going to kind of meander over to this spouse and say hi. Same thing. The inbox box is not the best place to start. You want to really try to comment, like they start knowing they start commenting on their stuff. Now you've gotten that, hey, I just applied to this job with your company. Is there anything I could do next to move forward in that role? And now they know you, and people help friends. Be a friend. So make it about them. If you're sending out the connection request, I would love to follow and support your content. I'd love to connect. Guess what? Creators love you to support their content. And then one more tip. I know I'm going long on this because it's my passion point, but one more tip is, as people secure new roles, get in there, and when they do their announcement, say congratulations on landing this. What are you most excited about in that role? Tell me what you're going to be doing. What team are you going to be on? The odds are they're going to answer you because they're really excited about their new opportunity. And then you can send that connection request. It was great chatting with you, especially if they're a second, third degree connection. And they're more likely to accept you at that point because they're currently on LinkedIn. Sometimes people aren't on LinkedIn, but once a month or every 6 months, or only when they're looking for a job. Accept that that's a reality too. Yeah. It's not about you if you don't get the connection request accepted. Just move on.
Jacqueline, this was so good. I mean, seriously, you basically summed up effective LinkedIn marketing in like less than 10 minutes, which is pretty darn amazing. I
can keep going forever. Like it's my favorite thing because it changed my life. And I feel so much more confident if something happened with the role that I'm in, that I have built a network that I can start reaching out to. And it would be my first thing to do is, hey guys,
Yeah.
let's band together and see if we can get back to where I was, so I can continue. And then during that interim, I
Yeah.
helped the heck out of people because I'd have more time to do it.
I want to pull this comment up that came in because I just loved it so much. I still have a database with openings and I do reach out with a purpose. I love the last little part of that. Like the reaching out with a purpose is really kind of what you were talking. Are we?
We're back.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
We keep like spinning a little bit, but that's okay. Yeah. So I feel like that reaching out with a purpose is really what you were talking about. It's about making those human connections because networking is about people, right? Yes. So is getting a job, right? Like that job networking, that job employment. It's about them getting to know you as a person and that you're going to fulfill that need that they have.
Yeah.
I also want to top this one up. Jenny just went and downloaded your 31 days of social media content. So Jenny, I'm going to be watching. You better tag Jacqueline and I on some of those posts. 31 straight days. I'm going to be watching. Make sure you're on LinkedIn all 31 days.
I don't know if I should name drop here. Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I should give you people to follow, but there used to be someone who you could probably do a hashtag LinkedIn hard mode. And he used to do a 31-day challenge. I would just challenge you to do that. And most of the tips that I put on that sidebar are just from his challenge on what works best to grow a network. So please follow those. They worked. So I think I grew my network by 1,000 people in 31 days. It was crazy. Yeah.
So Jacqueline, unfortunately, when you were saying that first part, you spun again a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to get with Jacqueline after the show. I'm going to get that information. We're going to make sure that you have it. I will make sure it goes on to LinkedIn and you get that information about kind of how to start that challenge that she's talking about. We're winding down our time. I can't believe it's already time to stop talking about networking and career gaps and the employment opportunities. If you have questions, let me throw this up on the screen. Jacqueline, tell everyone how to find you. And I specifically want you to talk about that career mentorship box that's kind of highlighted here on your contact page.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, LinkedIn, I just talked about it. It's my favorite place to connect. Please say you were on this call because I also get a lot of people who are like, I'm a financial advisor and I want to help you, or, so please just mention it. It's an instant. Yes, you're in my network. Usually when I see military spouse on the headline, you're an instant in regardless, but I don't like to be sold to. So anything you can do to clarify that. I do have like witfulthinking.com. It's a little dormant, but I'm going to start picking that up again with I'm starting to deep dive into more technical learning. So I think I want to document that journey a little bit more. And YouTube, also, I have some of the old mentorship calls that I have, and that leads into Mentorship Live right here. Just real quick connection. You don't have to put the www on it, but aks.ms/mentorship live. I think www still works, but it's an internal way that Microsoft allows us to make links. So the aka.ms is actually a link. I know it doesn't look like it, but every week I would team up with 2 other Microsoft employees. One is he's a veteran that transitioned. One has been in industry for a very long time. So we all have different expertise options. It is completely open. That link works every single time. So you can put it in a calendar and show up. No question is a dumb question. It is starting to grow a little bit. So we may look at how do we scale it better, but through there, you can always reach out later and ask those more specific questions. I try to get to what I can get to. I'm trying to block out some time every week where I do one-on-ones. Right now that calendar got full so fast, it made my head spin, but as I know that I can take on more people, then I will continue adding times there. So.
Yeah. So just so everyone knows, I did drop both in the comments. So LinkedIn, it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook. So no matter where you're watching right now, you should have gotten that direct link, that aka.ms. I took the www off.
I was like, it might still work, but I didn't catch that when you showed me the slide earlier. I apologize.
So yeah. So make sure you connect with Jacqueline. Make sure you tell her that you are not spamming her with sales calls so that she's going to accept that connection request. Yeah. And then jump on one of these career mentorships. You know, it was funny when I went to Jacqueline's YouTube channel, I realized I actually knew who you were, Jacqueline, before we connected. It's been, I think, over a year later because you had on Selena Conmackey, who's my business partner and a bestie.
I didn't actually know that, so that's amazing.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, oh, I know who Jacqueline is. I know what these mentorship calls are.
Mhm.
But anyway, it was a great reminder that I'd heard of you before, and what you're doing is making an impact, because I had heard about it a year ago making an impact, and I know that today it'll do the same.
Yeah, we stopped
So
recording them
yeah,
a while
and let's
ago.
just
Just
give some love
yeah.
from the comments.
Oh,
You're
thank you.
amazing and a great connection. I don't know
Oh,
who
thank you.
said
Thank
that,
you.
but thank you, LinkedIn user.
Yeah. We
All
and
right.
we one of the reasons we did stop recording those mentorship sessions is really because we wanted it to be a very candid scenario where anybody could ask any questions. So we're starting to figure out, do we do that again? So anyway, but the YouTube channel does have some amazing guests that we had, and it was really fun. So.
Yeah, so if you want to kind of see like what a mentorship session might look like, head over there and you can actually watch one of the older ones, but know that right now, or you can just join one and jump on one live. I'm sure that they've transformed a little bit over the last year since you know, your recordings, but be sure and jump on with that, and head to Jacqueline and grab that 31 days social media. I mean, there's so many call to actions here. I don't even know which one to tell you to do first.
Yes. So, well, connect first, and then you'll get all the other stuff as a bonus as our relationship develops over time.
Perfect.
And yes.
Yes. And if you aren't familiar with ringing the bell, right? If you ring the bell, and that means that every post that that person puts on LinkedIn, you are going to see come up in your news feed. It's going to be in your news feed. And I think you even get a notification that they've posted something. So if somebody's posts are very important to you, make sure you're ringing that bell. All right, with that in mind, let me pull this right back up. Our next live stream is actually going to be talking about career mentorship and for transitioning military spouses, and kind of the why behind it. What is it supposed to do, and what should it look like? Where can it take you? All of those kinds of things. It's March 13th, 2024, right here on LinkedIn. We'll also be streaming to Facebook and YouTube through SpouseLink. And so be sure and join us for that. We want to thank our sponsor, SpouseLink. I want to thank them. As a transitioning mil spouse, you probably have way more questions than you have answers, and that's why AFMA created SpouseLink to support, inform, and inspire military spouses like you around the world with the resources you need to lead your family back to civilian life. You can go check it out at spouselink.org. I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the comments as well, where you can subscribe and receive essential resources for your mil spouse journey. Also, if you are not currently connected with me on LinkedIn, haven't rung my bell, done all the things, please go ahead and do that. I would love to make your acquaintance and get to know you just like Jacqueline would. And with that, I'm going to say we will see you at the next Mil Spouse Transition live stream, and we look forward to having you join us there. Jacqueline, thank you again so much, and I look forward to following your journey.
Thank you so much. Yes. And have a great day, everyone. I look forward to connecting with you.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.